Greetings, everyone. This particular segment of video is the first of hopefully many, and I've decided at some point in my life that I wanted to share my story with people. And being a counselor, working with people, seeing the situations, the things that cause them issues and problems, is not necessarily unique to them, but there's a lot of common patterns and themes that run deeply through all of our lives, and I identify them and see them, and hopefully when I talk with people, when I counsel with people, I can often use my own life experiences to encourage people that are not taking away the uniqueness of their situation, but encourage them that I'm a Bible man, I'm a Christian, and the Bible teaches me that no temptation has seized you but that which is common to man. And we're talking about temptations here, but I think it runs deeper than temptations. The stroke is very broad in a sense, it covers more than temptations. The commonality of things that happen to all of us. So as I said, I've been wanting to tell my story for a long time now, on the basis that I would like to encourage others, to hear my story, and as they are struggling with their own unique situations, that they would take encouragement out of my story and how I have come to overcome. Off the bat, I'm unashamedly Christian, and I love Jesus, and Jesus has been my rock. He's been my salvation. He's been my anchor. He's the reason I'm sitting here today. If it wasn't for him, I'd probably be dead by now. But yes, Jesus is my all and everything, and that would be so till the day I die. I'm just so mindful of the scripture verse that says that nothing, a demon, a death, no hell, no angel, and a whole lot of other things that the Bible speaks about can ever separate me from the love of God as a child of God. Now, I'm mindful that God has created all human beings, and we were all made in the image of God. So therefore, all of us have an ingrown part of who God is, and it's the ability for us to love, the ability for us to forgive, the ability for us to be patient, the ability for us to be kind. No matter who you are, no matter what religion you follow, we all have that ingrown ability to be caring, loving, kind people. And simply because we are made in the image of God, and we bear some of what we call the communicable attributes of God in all of us. So as I tell my story, obviously I'm going to start at the very beginning, and I think it's important because we go through life, and as I'm 57 now, going on 58. I've been through the fire in the last couple of months. It hasn't been easy. It's been a struggle, and just this morning I woke up terribly anxious and terribly broken, because of circumstances, and of course, as I called out to my rock and my salvation, that's Jesus. He took away all that anxiety, and he took away all the stuff that tries to beat us down, to the point that we become forlorn and dejected, and often for many people suicidal. They can't take the weight of what it is they're going through. So yeah, I want to tell my story, and I want to start at the beginning. So ek is 'n Kaapse kleerling, soos hulle sê. I might not look like a Kaapse kleerling to some. Whenever I meet people, they often see me as a white person, as a European person. But no, I grew up in a little town in Cape Town called Grassy Park. I'm currently staying in Port Elizabeth, and Yes, and that was way back in 1965, and that's when I was born in Grassy Park. To parents, Harry and Penny, Frida, they used to call her Penny. And my mom was a white lady. She, a European from Woodstock, and my dad was a colored man. And I don't know much about the background, the history, but there was a time when I tried to find out more about our heritage. And I think somewhere along the line I'll go back there to dig a little bit deeper. But nevertheless, Harry and Penny had a total of 8 kids. My elder sister Jean died when she was 6 months old, apparently, and then I had another 5 sisters. Joan being the eldest, Hazel, Dawn, Linda, and Avril. Avril being my baby sister, she sadly passed away when she was 45 years old because of ovarian cancer. I've got one brother, his name is Mark, older than me, so I'm the baby of the family. And as the baby, I think when I look back, I was a bit spoilt, particularly by my sisters, and always, gave me things and stuff like that. But nevertheless, I grew up in a very dysfunctional family, I must say. When I look back, and here's the thing, let me just say this from the start, is that I'm very open, I'm very vulnerable. Often people say to me that, Paul, be careful what you share with people. En ek is nie bang nie om iets te sê nie van myself nie of van my familie nie. So obviously we grew up in the era where what happens in Rome stays in Rome, and that's how we often were bludgeoned in a sense to keep family secrets, to not say anything, not to allow the family name to be dragged through the mud and stuff like that. And today, as I look back on that mindset, I think it's so debilitating for us to have that kind of attitude. It's important for us to share and to know what's happening in our lives. And often when we went through trying times as I got older and look back, often uncovered in my family things that really I should have known from the beginning, and maybe, just maybe, things would have turned out differently. But nevertheless, a dysfunctional family, and my father was an alcoholic, my mom was an alcoholic, we experienced some really bad things, and I'm not going to go into the specifics about the bad things. But let me say, it's bad things. It's things that I don't wish on any child to be having to go through. And sadly, as I look back, I'm mindful that a lot of it has impacted my life to some degree. And I need to, with God's help, and have worked through a number of those issues. But you know what, often I say to people, how far can you go back and remember? And I go back far as 2 years old. And I remember very vividly my neighbor, Craig Foster, a good dear friend of mine. He stays in Australia now. And he and I remember, I can still see it as I sit here. We used to push these little metal cars in the sand and play like two little kids with not a care in the world. And special times for me, growing up in my community with the people around me, and again, just quite amazing to see how things have changed. I'll end up going to a Roman Catholic primary school, and in Wynberg, in Witteboom, called St. Augustine's, and of course, as a little child growing up, I was this quiet child. I wasn't in your face kind of guy. I was in the background, I don't recall ever being someone looking for trouble. If anything, I ran away from trouble. And of course, back then, you might have been regarded as a sissy. as someone who didn't have the guts to do things, but nevertheless, that's who I was. And I must say, my time at this particular school was a blessing to me. I must, I'm just so thankful for the values, the principles taught to me, both at the school and by my even dysfunctional parents. I'm so thankful for the life that they've taught me, the things that they've taught me, the values, as I said, the principles. And yeah, I know that a lot of it has kept me in good stead today, trying to be respectful of people and stuff, and those things. Those are the things that I was taught back in then. And when I look today often at the kids and the young people today, sadly that respect and that values and all that has all gone out of the window. And I think this is also why I want to tell my story, because there's a lot we can teach our children of today, and one of my focuses for this year is to continue working at places of safety, children's homes, teen homes, where children don't have families, or they have broken, dysfunctional families, and they've got clearly no mentorship, no guidance. And I want to be able to share my story and share the values and the principles that I have with them. So yeah, I grew up there, and it was a great time. I met wonderful friends at my primary school, and I remember, very vividly a number of scenarios in my life. Primary school, at the age of 6, when I started school, all the way to when I left primary school, standard 5 then, grade 7 as it is known today. And the coming to standard 4 and 5, you started entertaining the things of the world, in a sense. The Cairo times, parties. I remember going to parties as a young boy, meeting girls and all that kind of thing. It was a great time of learning, of experiencing things. And of course, all the while being influenced by people, by your parents, the people around you, the adults around you. And that, I think, is an important thing that I want to bring across. As I pressed on through my childhood, I remember being swayed in many ways by the things that adults did. And of course, in my family, alcohol was a big thing, and it was a very common thing in my family, both my mom and dad being alcoholics. So obviously, you grew up seeing alcohol as the thing people did, and partying as the thing people did, and I often, as a child growing up, being dragged along to aunties and uncles where they had parties, and then all the children be shoved into a room and be told not to come out, and that's where you stay. Yeah, that was quite a weird thing, and I remember, peeping through the crack in the door, because you couldn't have them see you watching them, and seeing the kinds of things that they were up to. Yeah, it was quite shocking, actually, and if I think back at it, and certainly these were things that influenced you to be thinking that it was okay to do these things. So the example that you set for your children, friends, be mindful that what they see is what they're going to do often, and because you are certainly teaching them to do it by means of your own example. So yeah, that was my early years growing up as a young boy, and great memories, I must say, great memories. Living in a time where you spent most of your time in the outdoors, in the fields, playing soccer, playing sport, rugby, cricket, whatever games were in the season of the time. And I remember doing that with lovely friends of mine who were at school with me and in my community, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful time to be growing up. And I thank God for every moment of that. And we lived in Grassy Park, and we had this huge field at the back of us, and it was quite crazy because back in the day there were two very prominent gangs, the Hard Livings and the Born Free Kids, and on a Saturday afternoon they would be on the backfield fighting each other, half killing each other. Back then they didn't have guns; it was knives and pangas. But we were exposed to this kind of thing regularly on the backfield bus. But the crazy thing was that on a Saturday they would be fighting and half killing each other. But on a Sunday, they would gather together to play soccer against each other, which was quite funny in itself, because I mean, that I don't know, it's crazy. That's we as human beings. I suppose as much as there's all this evil in us, there's also a degree of goodness and love, and I think that's all based on the fact that we are made in the image of God. And so on a Sunday afternoon, or when they played, I would go and watch them, and my dad hated that. He didn't want me to be there watching these gangsters play football. And of course, I was an avid football player at the time. I was young, 8 years old, I remember, and still loved playing soccer. I loved my soccer, and every opportunity I got to play soccer. And of course, the one neighbor that we had, he was part of this Hard Living gang, and I used to play soccer with him and his brothers often, and he would see, that I was quite afraid with playing the game of soccer, and so often he would invite me on a Sunday to come play with him, even as young as I was. And it was a thrill. And I remember one day my dad saw me and got my brother to come and pull me out of the soccer game and brought me home, and he beat me up. And because he didn't want me to be associated with those gangsters. But that was my early years, and what a wonderful time, filled with great memories, but also a time of being molded, and a time of being molded both for the good and also for the bad. And I think at this point in time, I'm going to leave the next part of my story for another segment, and that might be in a week's time. So I hope you at this point in time, because as we go along, I want to go back and I want to talk about specific things that lend itself to what I'm talking about, and it's specifically those things that I find happen or come out in my counseling room with other people who have been through hard times growing up, and having to deal with things in their adult life that which happened as young children, whether they were boys that were molested, whether they were girls who were raped by parents, by uncles, by aunties. These are the kinds of things you get coming out in your counseling room. So I want to encourage people that wherever you are, whatever it is you're going through, that there's great hope and there's healing for all the hurt and the pain that you're carrying. And I want to at least be an encouragement to you by telling my story and the things that has happened to me as we go along. So I wasn't thinking of speaking for 20 minutes, but nevertheless it's been 20 minutes now almost, and I'm going to sign out now, and I'll be back in a week to carry on my story. So be blessed, and look forward to chatting with you again next week. God bless you all.